Hello, good day. It's Saturday morning and it's pretty wet and grey and overcast out there. And I thought I'd make a longer, more relaxed video where I'm just gonna sit, put the camera there and talk at you for a bit, but in a longer format so I can get my thoughts out. No rush. And hopefully touch on everything that I want to touch on. So, oh yeah, if you're new here, which you probably are because the channel's new, my name's Pat, and the channel is called Army of Wives, and that basically is about, it's about the need for family, good family, and a sisterhood, women working together. Because I think that what we have right now is we have a big power structure which is run by dark forces, shall we say, and the only real way to get the power back to the good people, I believe, is through unity. And obviously men need to work together, but it's almost like the women, if the women are strong between them, then there's just no stopping us. You know, the women represent the earth, the men represent the spirit. So anyway, Army of Wives, and also maybe one day I'll have an army of wives myself. I'm not quite sure, but it's a play on words. So what's the subject of the video about today? It is about trusting yourself, listening to your inner voice, your inner guidance, wherever you think that comes from. You know, because I believe this is so important in this age that we live in. Because there's just so many deceptions around. You know, myself, I've been keenly, curiously looking at the world since I was a kid and trying to make sense of it all. And I've gone through various stages of believing this and that. You know, one of my weak spots is that I can be led into things possibly too easily. Like I sometimes jump in both feet when I like the sound of something. I can. And then I realise later that I shouldn't have jumped in so much. So that's happened to a few things. Like, for instance, one of the things I've jumped in too much was doing the vegan vegetarian diet. I believed that was the correct way for me. I believe that was the correct way for all. I read lots of books, and I was just totally, you know, these counter lines of you don't need so much protein, you know, and I just bought into it straight up. I was like, oh, no wonder that's why I've been pretty out of shape and not doing too well physically. Oh, it's because I've been eating meat. So I bought into the whole paradigm and basically became incredibly skinny and a bit frail and a bit neurotic. So I would say, with hindsight and experience, for my personal type, body type, you know, genetics, because we are all different. So this isn't to say that the vegan vegetarian diet won't work for you or others, but it's my personal experience, and people who are similar to me, it don't work. I highly don't recommend it, because you do need protein. You do need a considerable amount of protein to rebuild your body. We live in a very dense world. There's a lot of stresses. You need protein to rebuild your body. I've learned that the hard way. You also need good quality fats. Butter being one of the best ones. You know, saturated animal fat. In fact, they'll tell you in the modern mainstream matrix circles and the mainstream areas, the so-called experts will tell you to have a low-fat diet. But you see, this is another psyop. This is another deception. Because again, from experience, I've tried the different diets. I've tried the low-fat diet, and it was an absolute disaster, okay? Your brain, this is from experience. You don't have to believe me, but it's a fact. The brain runs better on high-quality fats. And when you're getting like eggs, butter, fats from like good quality meat, you'll be a lot sharper, you'll be able to think a lot straighter. And that leads back onto my whole subject today, which is trusting yourself. So going back, I might not have been deceived and tried out these ideologies like the vegan vegetarian diet, for instance, if I did trust myself more. But learning to trust myself, it has been a life lesson. And now I'm pushing into my 40s. Sorry, no, I'm not in my 40s yet, but I'm getting close. And I'd say it's pretty much taken me about that time to really, really, really trust myself. And even then, I'm still searching for answers, you know. Let's lead this on to the topic now of trusting yourself and, you know, what is the ultimate truth? What is this reality, you know, and etc. You know, is there an objective right and wrong? Going further, is there a dark and a light force? Is there a, can we name these people like God, Jesus, the devil, etc.? You know, these are things that are always popping up and I'm questioning. And that leads me on to right now in the modern day, you know, there's definitely a lot of deception. And even for the sharp-minded, the person with good discernment, like myself, who's worked on it over the years, it's still quite confusing. Like, who can we trust? What's the truth? And of course, it goes back to trusting yourself. Because really, if you don't have some level of self-trust and you're tapped onto your intuition, which is your body's intelligence, basically, if you're not tapped into these things, you're going to struggle in these times. So I really recommend like finding that trust, that intuition, and start listening and acting more upon it. Because I would say most people generally put their intuition to the lesser important, and they generally go with ideologies and man-made concepts over their intuition. And this is why people end up in many problems and bad relationships, in the wrong job, just doing things that if they really were asked themselves deep down, they wouldn't be doing. You know, for instance, like, I can't understand why anyone in the modern day would want to be a professional bodybuilder, for instance. It's like, it's been done. We've kind of seen the negative effects of what that will do to you, you know, and it's like, why? It's been done, you know, why would you want to do that now? Why would you want to put your body through that stress? And it goes to show that if you're trying to be something like that, a professional bodybuilder, for instance, then you're valuing your meat suit. You're valuing the fleshy things too much over the spirit. And then that leads me on to the next thing, which is, I firmly believe that, well, I don't just believe, I know this isn't the end destination. You know, the whole Big Bang evolution theory is an absolute crock. It makes no sense. It's laughable if you start to think about it. And just again, the intuition tells me that this isn't the whole thing. This world we live in is almost like it's a training ground or a test or an opportunity for us to grow. You know, I believe that's what it is. And I believe my spirit existed before I was born, and I believe it will exist afterwards. And this leads me on to the next thing of, you know, good and bad, light and dark, God, the devil, etc. Now, I do believe in these forces of light and dark, and I believe that there are like angelic forces. There are certain beings that are not physical, that can affect us and help to guide us, just as there are negative forces, demons, which are again non-physical beings, which can drag us down and make us do bad things and go on the path that's counter to our best interests. So I think that exists, and I think there is a God, and I think he's up there, and I think there is a devil, and I think he's down there. But I don't, that's about as far as I go with the labels and the dogma and like, you know, what is and what isn't. I personally, I'm definitely not religious, and I don't like most religious people because I find these people to be highly prideful, arrogant, and it's just crazy to think that you can base your life on man-made things that are written by man. Because at the end of the day, like, if the Bible is God's word, that's great, but a man had to write it, a man had to interpret it, and for us to just place our whole trust in that is the whole truth is insanity in my book. I think we can take all these books as a little guide, as a reference point, but only to check in with what ourself says to us, our intuitive inner trust. So I think it's good, basically, this goes on to the next thing of just, if you have self-trust and you are a human being, you know, and you have a heart, and you're one of the, you're like myself, which is a human being that has a benevolent heart. You know, I have my bad days, and sometimes I lose I go crazy, and I have my bad days, but ultimately my heart is a loving heart, and it wants peace and truth and more togetherness in this world, you know. And that leads me on to just trust yourself, basically, above all else, because if you're someone like me who does have a good heart, if you don't trust that heart and trust your intuition, you're going to go off. You know, the religion will tell you, and the Bible and a lot of Christian people will tell you that you can't trust your heart because the heart's wicked. But that's only if it's corrupted. That's only if it's not pure. It's only if you're living with dogmatic beliefs and unhealed trauma. Then you might act from that place. But if you live a life where you live true to yourself and you begin to do good things, and you are basically honest with yourself and others, you will heal your heart, and then you can live from your heart. So the whole living from your heart thing I do think you should live from your heart, but you should also make sure that your heart can be trusted. So there's a lot of truth in these religious things and these texts, but there's also a lot of deception. I mean, like this idea that you have to believe that this is the one life, and if you believe in reincarnation, like, you're going to hell, and you know, no one's going to be able to prove that though in this life, are they? So where am I going with all of this? Basically, I don't know exactly what the truth is. I don't know if Jesus really did exist as a man or as a metaphor. And I don't know if he's going to come back as a man or a metaphor, or not at all. I just don't know this, you know. And then I look at, currently I'm looking at quite a lot of Christian people and what they have to say, and I value a lot of what they say. You know, some of the things they do make sense, and it's like overall they're the guidance that it does give, you can see there's some goodness in it. But at the same time, if you follow it too dogmatically, I believe you're going to end up one of these arrogant, prideful and bitter Christians, because you've restricted yourself and you've shut down your own inner guidance, and you're more robotic. And there's just something about the human spirit. It doesn't want to be controlled. It doesn't want to be put in a box. It wants to be free. It wants to explore itself. So for me, it's all about balance. And I think the best thing to do is to it's not just to take the bits that you like the sound of and get rid of everything you don't like the sound of, because that's a kind of narcissistic way. You need to be objective. You need to be like, well, how do I want to be treated? So I need to treat others the same, kind of thing, you know. It's like when you judge someone, oh, this person did this and this person comes across this way. It's like, okay, look within, like, do you come across that way? Do you do any of those things? You know, and if you're able to be objective like that, that's where you can really heal your heart and get back to more of a pure state. And then your intuition, as you do this, the more you listen to your intuition and act upon it, the more you'll be confident in it and trust it. So yeah, whatever the whole spiritual truth is, and you know, if there's a heaven and a hell and there's reincarnation or there's both, we don't really know. I have a good, you know, let me finish it off with, my gut feeling says that pretty much like what's happening after this life is pretty much, you're not going to change it that much in this life. You know, like there's a destiny. It's like you're going to get off that ride. You get on the ride in the same place, on the same seat. Say it's like 3B or 3C, that seat on the ride. You know, when you end the ride, you're still coming off on that seat. You don't change. So I think a lot of these religious texts make us think that we have more power to shape our ultimate destiny. And I don't think that's necessarily true. However, for the people that cause much harm to others and they don't seem to care about it, you know, the people with not so good hearts, and they keep on doing things and actions that just keep on blackening their hearts. I think in some cases, yeah, that the idea of hell is real, and your soul is then exterminated. But I don't believe that happens unless you've really shown the thing that created you, the most high creator, that you just not interested in anything good. And I believe you have to show that over a time, possibly over many lifetimes. I think the idea that like you slip up here or there, or like you make a little mistake and then you're going to go to hell, I think that's clearly a deception. That's clearly designed to actually, that's designed by the dark forces, because your nature of the soul and your being inside wants to expand and know itself. And how else does it do that? By gaining knowledge through experience. And if you adhere to dogmatic rules and you're ultra fearful of trying something that is a sin, you're going to restrict your experience, and you're going to end up at the end of your life. It's like you basically, you shut your eyes on the roller coaster ride and you dissociated, you know. You didn't want to see like what it was like as you go around the loop, you know, and you didn't let yourself scream, and you didn't let yourself like, you know, scream in both joy and terror. You shut your mouth, you close your eyes, because someone told you that if you express yourself or you observe, you're going to hell, you know. And I just think that this is a complete crock, you know. So I believe in Jesus as a concept, as an example for how humans should be. But that's literally as far as it. And you don't have to follow him. You know, I don't think the Most High Creator is going to punish you if you don't follow him. It's just, that's your free will, you know. And that's it. Like, you do have free will to experience your life how you want it to a certain degree. I think that whoever created us has set us on a certain trajectory, and there are certain things that we almost have to do, and certain things that we will just end up doing regardless, because the universe is very clever. God in the universe, the Most High Creator, is an absolute impeccable architect. And it's like that funny way of like, if you stray off from your path that God's given you, which is part of trusting yourself, your intuition, if you stray off, it's almost like you get brought back. You know, like you get in the wrong relationship, like you might have an accident, your car breaks down, like your health starts declining, you know, all these are signs that like you've gone wrong. Whereas when you're on the right path, there's a bit more of a flow, you know, and like things present themselves to you in order to go through, and then it's like, oh, okay, now I walk through this door, I cross through this fear, and now another door opens, and now I go through this door. And I think that's how it goes. So basically, in these times of deception, where many dark forces are trying to take you away from your true path, trust yourself, tune into your intuition, and basically, you know, trust your moral compass, trust your innate sense of what's right and wrong, and act upon it. And yeah, break through your fears. Don't let your fears stop you from expanding and understanding more about life and yourself, you know, because every time you bust through a fear, you're going to understand more about yourself, and you're going to understand more about the world, and ultimately you're going to feel more confident, and that self-trust will keep on growing. So yeah, I'm going to end that video. I hope that made sense. I hope that wasn't too much of a ramble. And yeah, it's Pat from Army of Wives signing out. I hope everyone has a great weekend. Much love and peace to you all.